Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you today. And I want you to go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. We are streaming there. And I want you to meet the Morning Stars, Andre, Zenobia, and everybody else who are coming up. Like and share, like and share, like and share. And let's get into politics. Let's get into election 2024. Please go to the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. Now, because of the traffic that I've been getting, they really want you to go to YouTube. But if you want to be my Facebook friend, you got to go to Santita Jackson and Friends. Everybody's still going to Santita Jackson, but it's a landing page and they're kicking people off. So please, please, please go to the Santita Jackson and Friends page. Hey, Dave up there in Canada. And Zenobia, where are you, Zenobia? Andre, I know you're here in Chicago. He's my god brother. And I'm sending you so much love today, sending everybody so much love. And we're waiting to see, by the time this airs, we will know who is on the ticket with Vice President Kamala Harris. But believe me, we're going to take that apart tomorrow too. But we've got some other things to take apart. Right now, in the next hour, we're going to be talking about this disconnect that no one really wants to talk about, but I think that we should. About with Vice President Harris and some elements of the Black community, Black men, they're highlighting that. But if you talk to people who have had loved ones, male and female, men and women, who've been in the justice system, who've had people, loved ones like myself, who've been in prison, it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. And she had a lot of trouble with that in 2019 when she was running. And so we want to talk about that. How can you bridge the gap? How can you close the divide? And but first, we're going to talk about this $100 million fund that APAC pulled together. And they're sending to these dark money groups. And they are taking out progressives, primarily Black progressives. Let's be very clear. They're going after Black people. And let me say this, because I've got one of my personal heroines with me today, India Walton. And of course, I talked to her some years ago when she bravely ran to be mayor of Buffalo, running really on a people's platform. And I have nothing but respect for that. And the people did too. I've gotten many letters, India, from the audience, not many, but a few. And it merited concern from the people who own the station. And I certainly want to be value added to the station. I never want to do anything that would shine a bad light on AM 950 radio, because they've been so generous in allowing me to be on this platform. And to their credit, they have not told me what to say. But some of you have expressed concern. Some of you have even complained about what you feel is my less than full-throated support for the Democratic ticket. I don't do Democratic talking points, number one. I do support Kamala Harris, but I'm always going to be fair. On this platform, I don't allow you to call President Trump or Robert Kennedy or Cornel West or anyone, Jill Stein, anyone, out of their name. I don't do that. I want this platform to be used for you to get information. If I could, and if I reached out to President Trump, I'd interview him too, because you need to hear from him. You don't just need to hear about people. You need to hear from them. Mm-hmm. And we cannot close our minds. We cannot engage in censorship. But I certainly understand some of your concerns, and I get it. But I want you to know, questioning my democratic bona fides is really not the thing to do. My father and my family have been at the center of the reforms that have given you a system that have taken away the winner-take-all system. When Reverend Jackson ran, and I just have to begin this way, India, because many people don't remember, 40 years ago when he ran, there was a winner-take-all system. So if you got 49.9% of the vote, you got no delegates. Mm-hmm. So part of his refrain when he ran through 50 states and the territories was, I want my delegates, because his vote count was not reflected in his delegate count. So there's that. You would not have had a woman on the ticket. Geraldine Ferraro was on the ticket because of his advocacy. He was the first top tier candidate to call to have a woman on the ticket. She was put on the ticket to blunt the momentum of Reverend Jesse Jackson, not because Vice President Mondale was so enthusiastic about having a woman on the ticket because they would never agree to it the whole campaign long. The reason you have a Barack Obama and a Kamala Harris is because of because of our advocacy. Because Bernie Sanders came into national politics through our campaign. There were 2 white elected officials in the United States who endorsed Reverend. Bernie Sanders was one of them. He either got slapped or punched in the face by a woman who called him a self-loathing Jew. But he said, I've apologized to him. He said, there's no need for apologies. He said, history's on our side. Mm-hmm. So when I critique the party, and I'm going to continue to do that, I'm critiquing an entity that we helped to remake. And not just Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm thinking of Ron Walters. I'm thinking of Marion Barry. I'm thinking of Richard Hatcher. I'm thinking of Dr. Gene Sindad. I'm thinking of Benny Pelote. I'm thinking of, yes, even Armstrong Williams, who was head of Young Black Republicans for Jesse Jackson. People saw a hole in the system and we sought to close it. My critiques of the party are based on what you're saying. Your polling data reflected your deep dissatisfaction with Joe Biden. That's why he's not on the ticket. Mm-hmm. I didn't come up with that. You did. I've merely tried to give a voice to it. Because if we don't give voice to our anxiety, our pain, and our opinions, then we got a real big problem. If you want to fight for democracy, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. So I don't mean to offend anybody, but the truth should not be offensive. Truth does not hurt, lies do. The only time when you have a cut and the only time you're going to see hydrogen peroxide fizz up is when there's an infection. Mm-hmm. When the infection goes, it doesn't hurt anymore. All this stuff hurts because you're seeing how the sausage is made, and I'm going to continue to talk about it because I think that we should. But please, I encourage you, go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, give me your comments, and let me know what your thoughts are. And if you want me to respond to you, I will do that. I will. I absolutely will. But I present all of this information to you because I respect you and love you. And because I respect you, I'm not going to hold things back from you. I'm not going to prevent you from voting. I want you to be able to vote. And I want you to be able to vote your choice. I think that just given how the system is structured right now, the choice is binary. Mm-hmm. But if you choose to vote for Cornel West or Jill Stein or Robert Kennedy or somebody else, it really is your business and it ought to be your right as an American. And we should not take that from anyone. I'm a descendant of African-American slaves. I'm not afraid of anyone. Trump does not frighten me. What is unsettling to me is when we cannot have an open discussion in the Democratic and Republican parties. That's unsettling. When I cannot critique a party that's going from asking me for my vote to telling me that I must vote for them. Mm. That's not an America that you want, everybody. So I said that, and let us get going because this is one of my personal heroines. When I read about her candidacy in Buffalo, New York, and people were talking about it because they all know who you are, and they're all so excited. India Walton, now you're with Roots Action doing some work there now, but you just continue to work for the people, and you had a people's platform. Mm-hmm. And it was so exciting to me. That's why I reached out to you as soon as I found out about it. Got you all these shows. Reverend wants you on the show. We got to talk about it because when people step out here, as you have done, and as you continue to do, we need to honor that. We need to lift you up. And I'm so excited that you are still in the fight, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do next. And what you're doing right now, you were with Cori Bush and her campaign in St. Louis. What a campaign it is. What a campaign it is. I mean, and I want you to talk about that because this $100 million that APAC has poured into, that they have poured into her opponent's campaign. And now they don't even mention Israel. When I was talking with Medea Benjamin, who's going to join us shortly, she said, what is so deceptive is that they don't mention Israel. And we know that this is what she stepped out here and crafted legislation to call for a ceasefire. That's what this is about. Jamal Bowman, that's what this is about. And so, welcome home, India Walton. And I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad when she said the earlier the better. So I got you. And I thank you so much for your patience this morning. We got a little bit of a late start this morning. And Andre and Zenobia and Dave and Shirley from beautiful Philadelphia. That's where the vice president's going to be today. What's going to happen? Let me know. Let me know. Kenneth and Deborah Cozy Lane, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant uh, union woman. And I'm just sending you all so much love today. And thank you for the love. Thank you for the love. But India, what did you see down there? At one point, it was alarming because there was a report a couple of months ago that there was a 22-point gap.
Mm-hmm.
That she was behind this congresswoman who has really come up the rough side of the mountain to get to Congress, and the people propelled her there. Talk to us. Who is she running against? Someone who, you see my little my little pop-ups behind me. Everybody, he was running for the U.S. Senate.
Yep. Against the Republican.
And what they did was something happened, and overnight he literally decided to run against her, but they put white tape across the Senate on his name. That's how he did his press conference. India, you can't make this up. Talk to me.
Well, you know what happened was that Cori Bush, along with other members of what is known as the Squad,
Mhm.
called for a ceasefire in Gaza. And this organization called APAC, which is very well funded, responded by pledging to invest $100 million into congressional races to unseat the members of Congress who were at the forefront of calling for a ceasefire. So what we're seeing in St. Louis now is Wesley Bell, who was a St. Louis County prosecutor, who ran on a platform of prosecuting Darren Wilson, who was responsible for the murder of Mike Brown. He misled people by saying that he marched with Michael Brown Sr., and he did not. And
Mm.
there is just millions of dollars being poured into this race to defame and slander Rep. Cori Bush with things that are just not true. There's lots of misinformation going on. I mean, there's billboards, there's mail, like people are just being inundated with negative ads that are wholly false. So we spent last weekend on doors. We went out and we knocked more than 3,500 doors, having conversations with voters and setting the record straight about who Cori Bush really is, and that she's a mother, she is a nurse like me, she's
Mhm.
an inspiration, and she fights for everyday working class people, those of us who live on the margins, those of us who can't afford to pay our rent, those of us who are making choices between healthcare and food. So I think that it's
And where you live.
and where you live, and it's of the utmost important that we keep representation like this in DC.
Well, India Walton, we're speaking with her. Of course, you found out about this brilliant, brilliant, brilliant organizer, activist, when she was running for mayor of Buffalo on a people's platform, everybody. I don't think you understand how important that is, because a people's platform means that the people draft you. You might not want to run. Like Reverend didn't, he thought that Maynard Jackson and Andrew Young, they were more mainstream. But like them, like him, you said, you listened to everybody and they said, look, we need you to do this. And you said, well, okay, your rent's too high, health care. You need access to city services. You need, okay, your needs, well, they're going to be driving my campaign, not the money, but the campaign. I guess one of the things as we welcome Medea Benjamin onto the platform, I'm concerned about how the lies about her are landing. Are people believing? Because it's not just they're not. This her opponent didn't just mislead people; he didn't tell the truth,
Right.
right? And I think we have to be very forward about that. They're lying. They're not telling the truth,
Right.
and that's very harmful. I mean, like you were talking about when she had COVID,
Mm-hmm.
they said, she was negligent. What talk about that?
Right. So one of the talking points of the Bell campaign is that she missed 180 something votes. She hasn't passed the bill, and they're saying she's the least effective congressperson. Well, first of all, I think that folks should go back and watch some episodes of Schoolhouse Rock.
Mm.
I think that as a two-term congressperson, it is unreasonable to expect someone to have passed any bills. I mean, there are definitely lots of pieces of legislation that Rep. Bush has co-sponsored or fought for, but to single-handedly get a bill through Congress is something that not a lot of people are successful at, especially in their first two terms. So that's the first thing. And then the second is that she missed votes while she was sick with COVID. There's nothing that she could have done about that. And I think that, in her absence, there was a concerted effort to have votes so that she would not be able to be on the floor and debate either for or against. But I mean, like, to put that out there as if she's being negligent to her constituents is just false. And, when you talk to folks in St. Louis City, they know it's not true because they see their representative all the time. She's there. But when you talk to folks who are in St. Louis County, out in Florian, and where there has been the most influence from this political action committee called United for Democracy, which that in of itself sounds like it's coming from the Democratic Party, but actually it's a group that's funded by the American Israeli Political Advocacy Council, right? It's not a bunch of Democrats, right? Let's be clear about this. APAC is funded by the extreme right. A lot of these folks are Trump donors and people who are waiting to strip away reproductive rights, civil rights, voting rights. And our first line of defense is people like Cori Bush. And that's why it was important for me. Not only did I come to St. Louis from Buffalo, but I also brought 5 people from Buffalo with me. And these are folks who believe in me, who worked on my campaign, who knocked doors for me. And now we're going other places and standing up and knocking doors and making phone calls for other people, because our Congress people don't only legislate and govern for the people in their districts. They're making decisions that affects every single person in this United States of America. They make decisions that affect the children who are being slaughtered over in Palestine.
And what's happening in Haiti.
In Haiti and in the Congo.
I mean, Yemen. I mean, we got a lot going on around this world, and we need every vote. Before, as we welcome Medea Benjamin onto the stage, let me ask you. I mean, there was a 22-point gap? She has been behind most of this race because of this misinformation campaign. Because just like Nina Turner, when she ran in Ohio, Nina was ahead in the race. But then this misinformation campaign came out, and it's just like the old Negro spiritual, done changed my name. I don't even know what my mama doesn't even recognize me now. I mean, oh, come on. Well, I'll bring Medea Benjamin in on that one because it really is India. You don't even recognize yourself. And tell me, I mean, just what is going on here? Because they're not mentioning Israel, right?
Right.
And I'm just saying, upon what basis is she being attacked? They say she's ineffective. She's got probably the most controversial legislation in Congress right now that's been slowly but surely getting more support. Ceasefire. And that's at the heart of the presidential election, quite frankly. How can she be called ineffective and her constituents, or some of her constituents, believe that? India, what's going on?
What's happening is that there is a concerted effort to use racist and misogynist tropes against her. And I think a lot of folks are falling into this trap of identity And, I've seen some mailers from her opposition that are, I mean, you can tell that photos are being altered. I've met Corey several times in person. She's the most lovely. So I'm on the independent expenditure side. I'm not even coordinating with the campaign, right?
Yeah.
But we were out to dinner on Friday night, and we ran into her, and she was just so warm and welcoming, and taking photos with small children. When I ran for mayor in 2021, I won the Democratic primary in a city that's 85% Democrat. I was the presumptive next mayor of the city of Buffalo. And rather than my opponent, who is a Black man, who is a Democrat, just as I am a lifelong Democrat, rather than him conceding and mentoring me and making sure we had a smooth transition, he got with Republicans and Trump donors to create a campaign of fear and smear against me. And this is something that is happening, especially, I see so much of myself in Corey, and my heart bleeds for her. I've been keeping her lifted up in prayer every single night, because the only thing that could be more difficult than being Black is being a Black woman. Where are we safe in this country? Where are we safe in our own communities, where the men who look just like us are the ones who are leading the charge to make us vulnerable and open to these types of attack and negative opinions being perpetuated against us? It's a shame, and it's sad. And right now, the margins are razor thin in St. Louis, and the conversations I'm having with people who do believe in her is go out and vote. It's not a slam dunk. And a lot of folks think that, they see you out here and they say, well, you got it. I know everybody in my family's voting for her. And then they stay home. Every single vote in this election is going to matter. You got to get out, take your friends, take your kids, take your granny, and everyone that to go out and cast your vote. Because if not, the consequences are dire. We're really in a moment that it's all hands on deck.
Well, and when I told one of our personal heroines, who I'm about to bring onto the platform, when I told her that I had you, she said, "Oh, that's big." India, huh? I said, "Absolutely." And then you said, Medea Benjamin
knows who I am.
I mean, wait a minute. And she answers my phone calls, girl. I am like, oh, I can't believe it. I've been following her for years. I'm like, and I don't fangirl, but I do with her, because someone who stands up for justice and who takes the unpopular positions because they're right. This is what you do, India. This is what Medea Benjamin has been doing for decades, and she's been a leading light for all of us. I don't know anyone who walks into these into these Capitol Hill hearings and is willing to get arrested. That's what happens. She starts shouting at the people in power, but shouting the truth, because we're lied to on a regular. And Medea Benjamin, co-founder of Code Pink, I just love you, love you, love you, love you. And we're just so honored that you're with us this morning, because indeed she's in Washington. She said, I should be in, and you said, wait, I'm supposed to be in St. Louis, but you're doing something else in Washington, which we absolutely need, because what she's helping us to do in Washington is really, this is how the sausage is made, everybody. She's doing a teach-in on APAC because they're leading this charge. So, I mean, the work that you're doing today is extremely important. I know you want to be in St. Louis, and you might leave this show and get on a plane. I don't know, because I wouldn't put it past Medea Benjamin. But what do you make of what we're seeing? Because it was announced, Dr. Jim Zogby, who we all know and love, he was one of Reverend's chief advisors in his campaigns, but he's also the founder of the American Arab Institute, one of the leading human rights activists, really, of the past 50 years. He said months ago, look, these folks are coming after the squad. They're coming after progressives. We cannot afford to lose one of them. If we start losing them, we lose them at our peril. So what are we looking at, Medea Benjamin? Because it's like, They're putting all this money. They offered Hill Harper $20 million to leave his Senate race to run against Rashida Tlaib. I mean, $20 million. Medea Benjamin, what is going on here? What is this?
Well, good morning, Santita and India. So great to be on with you. It's a real honor. Santita, I'm glad you brought up Jim Zogby because I was just reading something he was writing about Cori Bush's race. And he, at the end of it, tried to give us some hope by saying that this is a sign that the APAC narrative is losing, that they are feeling desperate, that the only reason that they are throwing all of this money in is that they know that Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush have a position that is supported by not only people in their district, but by the majority of people in this country. The Cori Bush is the first person who put out that ceasefire resolution. And I remember it well because it was 9 days after the October 7th attack. And we had already seen in those 9 days the tremendous kind of bombing and killing of civilians in 9 days. Now it's 300 days. But going back to Cori Bush's courage to put that out early, and how with a lot of pressure from constituents around the country, we were only able to get 18 members of Congress to sign on to that resolution. And I thought, oh my, it should be the entire Progressive Caucus, 100 members there. We should be able to pull in some Republicans if they're into this either libertarian or America First narrative, whatever. 18, it stood at 18 for the longest time. Now, of course, there's over 100, and even Biden has said, "Oh, we need a ceasefire." Of course, he doesn't do anything about it, but she's the one out there. And I remember last week going to Rashida Tlaib's office and seeing Rashida before they went on break, right after the Netanyahu visit, when she was the lone person standing there holding that war criminal sign. And we were saying, it was so sad to see you by yourself there. And she said, my sister, Cori Bush, wanted to be there with me. She was insisting. And I told her, no, don't do it. We need you to focus on your campaign. And she said, if Cori loses, this is going to be so devastating for all of us. And that's why it is so important today. And I would love to jump on a plane, but instead I'm going to sit and make phone calls today. Because I think this race is so important, and because I'm waiting to see what the heck Kamala Harris is going to do with her vice president pick. So this is a very, very important day for all of us who care about the people of Palestine, who care about the rule of law, who care about the electoral system in our country. The fact that they can just so brazenly go in there and just awash with money say we're going to buy ourselves a congressional district. I mean, this is absolutely disgusting. So I hope they lose big time. I hope Kamala Harris doesn't pick Shapiro. But whatever happens today, we know the fight is on. And I'll go back to Jim Zogby saying they know that they're losing. This is desperation on their side, and let's just keep on fighting.
But I think the upside is now we're seeing how this really works. You're seeing who yanks the chains in Congress and in the presidency. You're seeing where the power really is. You're seeing how, look, everyone doesn't love sausage, but certainly I do. But when you see that even the pig's tail goes into it, you go, oh no, I didn't know all that went in there. But yeah, all this goes into it. And I don't want her to lose. Heaven knows I don't want her to lose because we need her. But I think we also need the people to see what's happening.
Not just to see what's happening, but also, India, better than us right now, the incredible outpouring of support of people coming in from all over the country. And, we weren't that organized in the case of Jamal Bowman.
Mhm.
We realized, we got to up our game. And if she doesn't make it through, it's going to be from, I think, a squeaker, because the amount of organizing, knocking on doors, calls that have been done has really been important. And I think it's a wake-up call. So yes, Santita, you're right. It exposes just how rotten the system is, but it also has shaken us up to say, we cannot just sit on the sidelines and watch this happen.
But what are you doing? Because you're doing this teach-in. Because of course, India, and I think even beyond this primary. You're really saying, okay, down the road, we need to understand who these forces are, and I want you to explain it. And then, India, I want you to weigh in on this, because this is huge, but it's so much bigger than Jamal and Corey. Reverend Jackson faced the same forces in his 84 and 88 campaigns, but because of a very enthusiastic, and not just very enthusiastic, his support in the Black community with not the elites, but the people in the streets was so strong that built a wall of protection around him. And when I've been talking about Kamala Harris, I'm like, I don't see that yet, and she's going to need that. But that's another story for another day. But you got to have that. But these progressive forces, and interestingly enough, Medea, is these Black progressive forces. It really is. It's racist, also. And I think we got to call it out for what it is, because there's some people who APAC will not touch, but they come after Jamal. They come after Corey. They come after Rashida Tlaib. They come after, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, what is this? $20 million to Hill Harper to run against her? These seats must be real valuable. I mean, help me, Medea. What are you doing in Washington today? And why are you choosing this teach-in? What is this?
Well, actually, we're doing it tomorrow because we wanted to wait till after the race today and see how that turned out, whether we can show the opposition to APAC as having a success, or whether we have to keep exposing their ability to totally distort our system, as well as our policies, of course, towards Israel. So at 11 o'clock tomorrow in the Congress itself, we're doing it in the Rayburn cafeteria, unless the police make us go out into the courtyard. And we're going to tell them, hey, APAC was here not long ago. They took over the cafeteria. Christians United for Israel was here not long ago. They took over the whole atrium of the Senate building. Please, let us have this little part of the cafeteria here during a recess. So we're going to be doing a teach-in to explain the origins and the tactics that APAC has used over the years. And Santita, you brought up that Reverend Jackson had faced this decades ago. I was recently looking back on an interview that Jimmy Carter did many decades ago, saying that the policy towards Israel was so distorted because of the outside power of APAC.
Yeah.
This is decades ago. And poor Jimmy Carter, calling apartheid for what it was back then, was pilloried for it. But now, it's accepted that Israel is an apartheid state and that it's a genocidal state. So APAC is an organization, a pro-Israel lobby group that has learned over the years how to influence U.S. public opinion by influencing the people in Congress and in the White House and in senior positions. And one of the ways that they do it is that anybody who looks like they're going to have some influence, even an online influencer or somebody who is a valedictorian or a president in their high school or their college, they are recruited to go on free trips to Israel. And those trips, I think Steny Hoyer just led his 21st trip to Israel, paid for by APAC. 21 times. Just think of that. And what do they see? They see exactly what the Israeli government wants them to see. And they come back saying, well, I've been there. I've seen it. There are Arabs that live in Israel that are in the Knesset. There are Arabs who are totally free. And I didn't see any oppression. So that's one way they do it. The other way that they do it, the more obvious and exposed way right now, is all this money. And when they announced that they were going to put in $100 million, I'm pretty sure it's going to go way over $100 million, because from what we've seen so far, and we're not even to the elections, we're just dealing with primaries right now. They have thrown in, what was it, 17 or 18 $1 million in Jamal Bowman's race, at least 9 million, and probably a lot more into Cori Bush's race. And they're not just going after Democrats. I mean, you said, yes, it does seem racist, and it is, but they are also going after some Republicans. And these are some white Republicans who have just said the most minimal thing about feeling some kind of concern over all of the deaths in Gaza. And then they become immediately targets. And of course, they've gone after Jewish members of Congress like Andy Levin.
Yes.
Who was what was he, president of his synagogue, and very active in the Jewish community.
And he's from this storied family.
Absolutely.
And like, oh my goodness, this is like Thomas Massey. I mean, I was with him at a presidential debate in Las Vegas. But you see people beginning to push back, which we didn't see before.
And Tom Massey, thank goodness for him. I mean, having one Republican, I loved hearing him talk about about the babysitters, about how everybody in Congress has an APAC babysitter that they have to go and check in about how they should vote, what should they say, and that he has banned APAC from his office. I say, go Tom Massey, but he is very unique in the Republican Party.
India,
I know you want to weigh in. I see that head going back and forth.
Yeah, I do. I do, because so there's a few things, right? One is that like APAC is like really heavily focused on squad members and sort of more established members of Congress. But my representative was just recently appointed. I mean, he ran unopposed in plus 12 Democratic district and is accepting money from APAC. He didn't need it to win, clearly. And one of his first votes in Congress was to vote with Republicans to suppress information about deaths and injuries from the health ministry of Gaza. So, I mean, like the influence is not only about seats, it's about influencing folks, even the ones like no one knows who the hell Tim Kennedy is right now in Congress. But he is being influenced by the same group of people who are here to take out the more vocal members like Cori and like Jamal. So one thing that I am encouraged by is the organizing and the coalition building that I have seen from progressives. I mean, like I said, I was on the independent expenditure side. I was in New York for Jamal's campaign. When by the time we got to St. Louis this month, I was able to organize some people to all come down with me from Buffalo. And there are people from all over the country who are invested in seeing that folks are successful. And one last thing that I want to, maybe two things that I want to add, is that I am still in this. I am still active. I am still able to believe that we can move the needle because of people like Nina Turner and Cori Bush and Bernie Sanders. My own party, the Democratic Party here in Erie County in Buffalo, New York, no one even speaks to me. I'm not included. I'm not valued. But the arms of the progressive movement have been around me. When you lose an election, when you lose the general election to a write-in campaign, what do you do after that? Where do you go when you're blackballed in your own city? Where do you go when you have internet trolls ridiculing you? What do you do? And I can honestly say that folks like the Working Families Party, like Roots Action, and individuals really brought me in and gave me the biggest hug and the most love that allows me to believe that the work that I do is making a difference. So I just want to give a word of encouragement to all of us. I'm encouraging myself right now too, for us to keep going. It's going to take a long time, and it's a lot of work and it's hard work, but we are worth it. Our children are worth it. Our future grandchildren are worth it. And, I think that we are seeing a shift, particularly among young people. There were so many young folks out knocking doors and excited in 95-degree weather, working 8-hour shifts to make sure that we get out the vote for Cori Bush. And we have to keep that same mindset and keep that support. And when folks have dollars to give, make sure you are giving it to progressive organizations like Roots Action, like Seed the Vote, right? Like the DNC got plenty money. They got their strategy, right? And one thing that I want to stress is that true blue vote blue, no matter who. Democrats, they vote, but the progressives, the ones who have critiques of the party, the ones who want fairness and justice all across the board, we organize. Not only do we vote, but we organize other people to go out and vote too. And that's why we need to put our resources, our time, treasure, and talent into making sure that we keep these coalitions strong and that folks are able to get out and mobilize when we need it most.
Well, if I can say this to you, as I pivot between you and Medea Benjamin, India Walton and Medea Benjamin, people want you, by the way, to run for mayor again, India Walton, and they want you to keep on fighting, Medea Benjamin. Reverend Jackson has been the outlaw. Medea Benjamin knows this very well. He didn't run. When he ran, we ran as Democrats. Well, we're registered Democrats, but coming out of Chicago, you had to vote straight ticket. And the most oppressive party in the state has been the Democratic Party. I mean, so he was never beloved. You're watching someone who is 82 now, who has Parkinson's. It's like the Muhammad Ali effect. I hate to put it this way, but that's really it. They see him, oh, what wonderful things he's done. And what they're doing is framing his legacy the way they want it to be framed. I had Bernie Sanders on my show, Senator Sanders, about 3-4 years ago. And Reverend called in, and it was a wonderful reunion. Medea Benjamin and India Walton, you could appreciate this. And they've been talking, but it was wonderful to hear them on the radio at the same time. And Senator Sanders said, look, everybody gives him so much credit for breaking the color barrier, and that's important. He said, but you wouldn't have had women on the ticket had it not been for him. He said, but a white progressive like me, there was no space for me until he ran. The thing is, one of the things that Reverend never stopped doing, India, and you see it with Medea Benjamin, you got to organize all the time. We got to go to these high schools and get these high school seniors registered to vote. And it should be nonpartisan. Just get them registered to vote. And bring your vote, and you will bring your voters with you. Because you have to cultivate, it's just like, I guess, like being a farmer, you have to till that soil all the time to make it arable so that you can drop seeds in it so something will grow. If you don't continue to till the soil, you drop it on basically what becomes cement. It ain't nothing gonna happen.
Right.
Well, should I say the chances are much more rare. And so I'm excited about the work that is before you and the work that is before us. But Medea Benjamin, what do you see today? I mean, should Cori win? Congresswoman Bush, should she win? What's before us? Should she not win? Should she run as an independent? Because she has been able to close this gap in a mighty way. And I think that now people are beginning to wake up to what happened to her and what happened to Jamal and what they were trying to do to Rashida Tlaib. And they're beginning to see it. When Jim Zogby brought this up, when Dr. Zogby brought this up months ago, people were like, yeah, that's what, first of all, the presidential campaign was like so flat. We were just into Gaza. But now things have changed. Now we're beginning to see these things come to pass. So, I mean, so what's the way forward as you see it, Medea Benjamin?
Well, I don't know the way forward for Cori Bush. I just can imagine how exhausting this whole thing has been for her. And, does she have the energy to run as an independent? I have no idea. And given that today is a big day in terms of the vice presidential pick, the fact that there is so much news about the criticism of Josh Shapiro because of his positions on Gaza, I think is a big win for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's already been hit very hard. And so I think we are gathering steam. I love seeing on the ground how the Jewish groups like If Not Now and Jewish Voice for Peace are there with you. I love seeing the Muslim Jewish coalitions that are coming together and having an impact. So I see that we are affecting the debate, we're affecting the choices, we're affecting the narrative. Now we just got to affect the elections and affect the policies.
India, what do you see? What do you want to see? I mean, where do we go from here?
I want to see Rep. Bush win. I want to
Mhm.
see Rep. Bush retain her seat and continue to do the good work for the folks of St. Louis and all of the things that are happening. But I want to see another knockdown the House. I want to see more women of color, more nurses, more working class people pursue seats at all levels of government. And I want to see us continue to organize and really begin to build our bench, hone in on these 18 to 35s and get them prepared to govern. My friends in movement generation out of Oakland say if we're not prepared to govern, we're not prepared to win. And I think that, to Medea's point, having teach-ins and focusing on education and getting people prepared for what's actually happening, so we have the perspective to know how critical being involved really is, because you may not do politics, but like my sister Nina Turner says, you might not do politics, but politics gonna do you. And politics right now is doing all of us, and it's doing a great job. So you have to be in it to win it. And I'm just looking forward to seeing us continue to build together and really be able to affect change at all levels.
Well, I do have 4 or 5 minutes left. I mean, what about Josh Shapiro? Because you're right. The needle has been moved, Medea Benjamin and India Walton, on just to even have the debate about him. Because I think they were just going to put him onto the ticket. And people said, whoa, wait a minute. Roots Action said, hey, VP Unity, stop. The momentum that Kamala Harris has will be blunted by this. And for those of you who think, look, I don't need to give you my bona fides about who I support. I support Kamala Harris. I went to college with her. I've known her 40 plus years. She's a year behind me at Howard University. I'm a Delta, she's an AKA. Someone I pledged as one of her best friends in the world. I don't need to give you all of that. I don't discuss my personal relationships. But I will tell you, even a friend who's elected to office, I will challenge them politically. I don't have a problem with that, because see, this is not about us. This is not about me. This is about we. You don't have to invite me to another dinner. I'm all right with that. But what I'm simply saying is this: her momentum, because see, we're seeing the Divine Nine. We're seeing people who went to college. Most folks don't go to college, particularly Black people. Well, and when you get to college, most of us don't get into sororities and fraternities. So you're talking to a thin sliver.
Mm-hmm.
This is a class-based thing too. So
Yep.
I'm saying to y'all, wait. She's got a problem out here. That's what we're talking about in the second hour. And I levy critique so that you can deal with the problem. Get out in front of your prosecutorial record. Get out in front of that. Get out in front of all this stuff, so that by the time these people throw this stuff at you, what else you got? That's what you say. Look, I'm human, but I'm here to serve. I didn't say I was perfect. I said I'm present. How about that? So what about Josh Shapiro? What is it about him that makes everybody go, ooh, Medea? What is it?
Well, one is the way that he treated the protests that were happening at the University of Pennsylvania and calling for the police to take down the encampment, to, quote, restore order, comparing some of the protesters to the Ku Klux Klan, and his, quote, ironclad support for Israel, and his opposition to boycott, divestment, and sanctions that was clear when he was Attorney General. And he went after the ice cream company. He went after Ben and Jerry's, saying they had discriminatory policies because they didn't want to keep selling ice cream in the West Bank settlements. And then this op-ed that surfaced of decades ago when he was, yes, only 20, but still, what kind of mindset is that, when he talked about how there can't be peace because the Arabs are battle-minded and they don't know how to create their own state, and even if the U.S. and Israel helped them, they wouldn't be able to do it. And he has not apologized for that. What he said is, well, that was decades ago when I was 20. I've since changed and I support a two-state solution. Well, he should really have apologized for that and said that he doesn't keep supporting what Israel is doing. So the fact that he refused to do that. So those are some of the reasons.
And
he also volunteered with the IDF. And I mean, when you have Fetterman questioning your fitness to be VP, you might have a problem here. I mean, like, he's talking about Shapiro's record on the parole board and how he wanted to keep people locked up and incarcerated. And, you know, while Vice President Kamala has to defend her record as a prosecutor, like, we're going to double down on over policing and over incarceration with Shapiro as a VP pick. And, you know, I was on the Progressives for Harris call last night, and now is the time that the Democrats can stop playing in our faces and finally take our advice, because we know what we're talking about. Shapiro is a bad choice. I think that, you know, progressives have done a lot to make Harris an acceptable candidate, despite the fact that the Democrats failed to have an open primary process, despite the fact that they failed to have, host debates and let the people choose our nominee for ourselves. Now we're saying, hey, you know, we want to be able to negotiate with a future president Harris. I saw people from Uncommitted who have a huge contingency, who have lots of votes on the line, that if Shapiro was the pick, that all of that momentum, all of this coalition building, all of these folks coming together across the board to support her presidency, is not enough to say that she's not Trump. That is not going to be.
Let's not forget the unions upset with Josh Shapiro's support for school vouchers.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But she needs the unions in this fight.
That part too. So I think that Vice President Harris is a very smart person, and I think that, you know, the choices are clear. If it were up to me, it would be Governor Walz. I think he's just adorable. And it's gonna be
so.
I mean, he's like everyone's dad, right?
Oh, Grandpa, you just want to take his cheeks and give I know. And wait a minute, this is a Minnesota-based, Minneapolis-based show. Everybody, please don't be offended. But
he's done great things in his state. I think his record, I mean, a lot of us didn't know much about him at all, but the more we learn about him, the more we say, wow, this would be great for the ticket.
And he's got a great just message, right? A very populist message. He's like, hey, if you think I'm crazy because I want to feed children, then, like, so be it. But I think that people should be fed, housed, and educated and have a good job. And I think that that's something that resonates with not only the Democratic base, but with all working class Americans, and that is the majority of us. I think that it's a very populist choice, and my prayer is that Kamala will make a choice that is not Shapiro.
Well, I'm praying, but I'm pushing. How about that? Because I'm good. So we're going to do that, and we have to continue to push because we have the power to make a real difference and to get the person on the ticket that we want. She needs all of the enthusiasm that she can muster. And I think quite frankly, he could pull some people from Trump. Why? Because a lot of Trump's people don't make the mistake of calling them all racist and white nationalists. It's not true. You have people who are disgruntled, who are angry, who are looking for someone who will go to Washington and take it to the establishment. Let's stop demonizing each other, everybody. And I know that's got me into trouble with a good many Democrats. I can only call balls and strikes. See, I don't believe in demonizing people. Don't do that. Let's talk to each other. Because at the end of the day, my father put it so well. We came over here in different ships, but we're in the same boat now.
Mm-hmm.
The stock market fell 1,000 points. Everyone's 401k took a hit. Stop it. We all go to the grocery store. I can't buy bologna without spending $100. I didn't say a chicken. I didn't say eggs. Oscar Mayer, bologna. Yeah. So, hey, Medea Benjamin, Code Pink, co-founder and just freedom fighter. And I love the art behind you. Madonna, hallelujah. There you go. Thank you for that.
Palestinian artist.
Oh, only Medea would do this. And of course, India Walton. Sending you so much love. Roots Action, their strategists. Blessings to both of you, my beautiful sisters, and our just really our auntie in the struggle, Medea Benjamin. We just love you. We love you. And my sister in the struggle, India. I just love you, love you, love you. And come on, let's keep on fighting. We're going to follow this show up to talk about to break these races down because we've got a lot of work to do. Because don't think they're going to stop in November.
Oh yeah, this
is going to go forward.
Thanks for having us on. Great to be on with you, Santita.
Yeah.
Good luck to all of us, especially to
It's your show, so you don't have to thank me. I love you. Everybody, second hour. Let's talk about how we can close the gap for Kamala Harris. There's some people who are pushing back on her candidacy. Let's talk about that. Back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in the second hour.